Okay, so we're going to go through the 3 examples at the top. So to write the equation of a line, you need the slope and you need the y-intercept. So if I want to write this equation to describe my savings in dollars in terms of the number of weeks, I need the slope. So for the slope, you can choose any 2 points on the line. So let's choose these 2. Okay, take a moment and make those dots on the line. The reason I chose them is because I can clearly read what numbers those are. It's easier for me if I can clearly read the numbers. Now the rise is tricky. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why is the rise not 5? It looks like 5 to me. Why is the rise not 5? Very good. It's going up by 20 each time. So my rise is how much? Going from 20 to 120. What is it? Anybody else get 100? I heard 100 and I heard 80. Let's just count by 20s as we go up. Let's go 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Yep, I heard a confirmation for 100. So the rise is 100. And then the run is how many weeks? Just 1 week. Okay, so the slope is 100 over 1, which is just 100. And then I need the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where my line crosses the y-axis. Okay, so Dion says 20, I think. Anybody want to agree with 20 or say a different number? Where does the line cross the y-axis? I heard a confirmation for 20. Raise your hand if you also think it might be 20, where the line crosses the y-axis. All right, so I have about 4 people. Yeah, so here's the line, here's my y-axis, and they cross right here at 20. Okay, so y is equal to the slope times x plus the y-intercept. So y equals 100x plus 20. All right, so we just did our warm-up backwards. In the warm-up, we took the equation and we graphed it. And now we're taking the graph and we're writing the equation. So we did this is the warm-up backwards, right? In the warm-up, we took the equation and we drew the graph. And now we're taking the graph and we're writing the equation. Yep. All right, we're going to write an equation for a table of values. Remember, you could graph the table of values if you had a really big piece of graph paper, and then you could use the same method. But we still just need the slope and the y-intercept. So to find the slope, we're going to imagine these to be 2 points. And you could use any 2 points, but I'd usually just pick the first 2 because it's simplest. And we need to use that formula. The change in y, that's y2 minus y1, over the change in x. And remember, this formula really means the same thing as rise over run. The rise is the change in y, and the run is the change in x. All right, so our y's are the second number, so I've got 150 minus 250. The x's are the first numbers, 2 minus 0. What kind of number do I get for 150 minus 250?
Negative.
Negative, yep. So I'm going to get negative 100 over what?
2.
Good. Okay, so my slope is negative 50. For the y-intercept is the number where we cross the y-axis, and wherever we cross the y-axis, your x value is 0. So your y-intercept is the point where the x is 0.
250.
All right, so I hear a 250. Is the x 0 when the y is 250? Yeah, it's right there. Okay. So because of this is 0, this one is also my y-intercept. Sure, because your final answer is the equation. So I'm identifying the slope, I'm identifying the y-intercept, and now I'm going to write the equation. Y equals, what number should go multiplied by the x? So it's either negative 50 or 250. Look back at the example up here. Raise your hand if you think it's negative 50. One person? Raise your hand if you think it's 250. Okay, so I think I had 2 votes for negative 50 and 1 for 250. Dion, did you want to explain your answer?
I think it's negative 50 because you just said, we just did the math for slope.
Uh-huh.
And then it came out to be negative 50. And then we just said that the y-intercept when the x is 0, that's 250.
Okay. All right, that was a good explanation. So we did the math to find the slope, and the slope is going to be multiplied by the x. So that would be negative 50. But I appreciate everybody who offered an answer because I know that you are thinking about this. And I appreciate everybody's thinking. All right, the last one is with words. Destiny has already read 50 pages in her novel, and she plans on reading 20 pages each day. If Y represents the total number of pages she has read, and X represents the number of days, write an equation to represent this story. So we know it's going to have a Y equals, and it will have something times X plus something. I want you to take a minute and look at the numbers provided and think about which one would make sense to multiply times the x, the days, and which one would make sense to be the number that's just added because we already had that. All right, so I saw a lot of you all had this answer where it was the 20 pages each day, so it makes sense to multiply 20 times x days. And we're going to add in the 50. And somebody asked me a question, could I put the 50 first? You could put the 50 first, but remember that that's not the one that's multiplied by the x. So if you wanted to write it with the 50 first, it would be 50 plus 20x. No matter which one you write first, the 20 is the one that multiplies by the x. They're both fine. This is the one we're used to seeing. All right. And then Brian showed me an equation that he wrote for this one. And that equation was y equals 250 minus 50x. Do they both have a negative 50x in them? Both equations? Yeah, they do. Do they both have a positive 250 in them? Mm-hmm. So they're both good. This one made more sense to him because you were starting with 250 and we were going down 50 every hour. They're both good though. All right, so you have 2 problems on this page and then you're going to turn the page and you've got up through 10. If you have extra time, you can try the challenge problems. Some of you will not get there and that's okay. You can try those at home if you want. That's totally up to you. I'm going to give you some time for that. You do not need to move ahead to this page yet. Okay, but you can if you want to try it.